So today I'd like to discuss the lie ISPs sell as consumers, or internet service providers, brackets. To start off then, my internet service at home is a guaranteed 200 megabit per second download speed, and this is through Virgin UK. And for anyone sat there listening and getting furious at me that I may sit down and talk about why my internet is barely acceptable, please bear with me. Now, the problem with fast internet is that websites often cap download speed, so it's unrealistic for daily use. Almost no services I use day to day can ever saturate 200 megabits per second download. This means that a vast amount of the bandwidth that I pay for every month is genuinely completely wasted and unused. Now there's only two services that I personally have found that can make use of the higher connection, and these are Steam and Netflix. There is a single, not so obvious reason for most people why this is the case. Now, ISPs like to cache Steam downloads to reduce their outgoing requests on the internet, and I'm 100% certain that most of the downloads I make through Steam are cached in Virgin's own data center because they max my connection out completely. Now, again with Netflix, their business is run by installing server racks locally within ISPs. This makes a very fast service. The service is operated in servers installed in the ISPs for content serving purpose. This is an intelligent way of load balancing across your site, don't get me wrong, all while providing a very high fidelity image and high resolution for a very cheap cost to Netflix. This is why so many network operators now are offering free streaming plans through their network, as the data never leaves the internal network of the carrier. Now, of course, there are other sites externally to Virgin's data center. For example, when I connect to PIA VPN, I can still achieve about 180 megabit per second, albeit that's with a higher ping as well. So it is clear that there is a capability to get a decent rate across external data centers. So what's going on? Why do we not see a consistent speed across the internet? Well, in truth, the internet speed listed on the internet service per package is a data rate that your plan is capped at only on the ISP's network. They will guarantee between your home and their endpoint to the internet, for me, 200 megabits per second. Now this is a hilariously tiny fraction of the journey that makes for the data. For me, it's about 10 miles to my data center. To use an analogy then, is that this would be like carrying an Olympic runner to deliver a letter from your house to the post office while leaving you believing you're paying for things to get mailed as quickly as possible, when it still just gets stuck in the same bag as everybody else's mail. So unfortunately, there's not a simple reason for the speed drop external to your ISP. The truth is, many websites receive tens of thousands of requests per second and simply limit the speed at which the servers respond per user accessing it. This not only helps prevent the system saturating on a high-speed connection, but it helps avoid DDoS attacks to websites, a very real threat. A normal download on a standard website for me is between 5 and 10 megabits, depending on the website. Other options that cause this may simply be where a website is hosted, and also who they're hosting it with. Many data plans for a commercial VPS will provide a 1 gigabit per second data plan as your base option. Now this theoretically means if you run a website and just 1,000 people tried to access that page, each user would be throttled all the way down to about 1 megabit per person. Now, this is especially an issue when you access smaller websites with hosted on a single server or VPS or instance in the cloud that don't have the money to have load balancing across multiple continents, just have one destination on the internet. Now, realistically, a common user will never need a fast download speed. 1 gigabit per second for a home user is ridiculous. In reality, this means the speed on the link between my home and Virgin is more than capable of achieving the rate they advertise to me. This reduces load on the server you're connecting to, not only your ISP's local distribution. All services which are not set up with a ISP topology, like Steam and Netflix, have requests going all across the internet and are forced to seriously limit the per user traffic allocation, making a theoretical speed test numbers meaningless for actual day-to-day usage. Beyond 50 meg to allow Steam and Netflix to operate, effectively, allow you to stream multiple streams in the house, allow you to stream 4K, you run into a hard diminishing return on the download. So much that saturating that connection becomes increasingly difficult to even accomplish in a daily task without, benchmarking it. Now, I've mentioned my internet speed is 200 meg several times now. So why do I pay for a plan with 4 times the download speed that I actually need? Well, that brings me on to the issue, really. My 200 megabit per second download, along with that, I'm allowed a mere 20 megabits per second upload. And should I drop to a 54 megabit per second download plan, my upload would fall to just 5 megabits per second. Yes, that's not a... I didn't misspeak. 5 megabits per second. The upload speed is a mere 10% of my download. Now, the fibre optic lines, channels coming to my home, Virgin can either dedicate to download or upload. And this is important because they cannot do both at once. Each fibre either downloads or it uploads. And they have to pre-allocate that before they sell it you. So, purely for marketing and PR, you frequently find that companies will dedicate the absolute bare minimum to your upload speed. I mean, I have personal friends on copper connections with 30 megabit upload and 30 megabit download, higher than I have with fibre optic. Now, I like to stream games and media from self-hosted equipment, and my 200 megabit per second is nerfing my in-home game experience to be at best 1080p 30 FPS when I'm not at home or not on Wi-Fi. This is hardly a premium resolution to be running at with one of the fastest internet connections you can buy in my city. Now, in conclusion, why am I saying they're lying to you? I mean, in my case, they're forcing me to pay for 4 times faster download speed than I actually need to meet a bare minimum upload. I mean, among other people in the tech community doing similar things, I can assume I'm far from alone in this. And I could pay to use half of the physical copper connections that I currently do if only they would offer a 50-50 allocation or allow me to decide the resource allocation. Even when you do have a whole 200 megabit allocated, it doesn't mean you can use it for 90% of the actual internet. So you're paying a lot more money for a lot more fiber optic channels to the house when 90% of it's going 90% of it's off. 90% of it isn't being used ever, unless you have a particularly beefy Steam game you download once in a blue moon. But 100 megabit, 50 megabit up, 50 megabit down would do the trick. They're forcing me to pay over double in connections that just for marketing purposes, basically. Bigger number better. And sadly it works. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time.